In this Miro tutorial, we will quickly acquaint ourselves with some of the key settings and tools on the board. We won't go into all of them yet, since without more context about how this program works, I think it would simply be confusing. But we're going to get through most of them throughout this tutorial series. You're currently looking at a blank canvas. We haven't created anything, we haven't added anything to this board. On the top left-hand side, next to the word Miro, is the name of the board. Currently, it's untitled. Let's change that now to Test Virtual Board. You've now renamed your board, and that will show up in the team level view we saw in the prior video. You also have undo and redo arrows here, which will allow you to backtrack on any actions you made that you want to do over or see again. On the top right-hand side, in the blue button, you have yet one more way to share access to this board with someone. We explored that in the prior video. The icon with the person in the graduation cap allows you to explore how-tos on Miro that can be really useful. For instance, this section on board basics will take you to a series of videos on board basics, collaboration, and navigation that can provide you with a whole bunch of information, and I highly recommend that you go through this and use it as a resource. You also have an opportunity to search your board. As you can imagine, as you populate your board with content, it might be hard to find a card or note with a specific phrase, right? And boards can become quite expansive, if you will. Lots of idea cards, lots of notes, so using the search function to find that is really useful. Now let's take a look at the toolbar directly to your left. And I want to go through some of the key features here because this is the toolbar that you're going to use to build the objects in your board. And we can start with frames, which is this icon over here. Frames are in effect like having another canvas, a canvas within a canvas. When you create a frame, the objects that you house within it will preserve the location reference relative to each other, even if you move the frame around. Now I know that might be a little bit confusing, so let me actually show you what I mean by that. Let's create a custom frame, and inside this frame, let's add several box shapes. You can see that when I grab the frame now, I can move it around and it will move all the boxes within it without them changing their relative position to each other. You'll also notice that I could have chosen any shape and it would have worked the same way. Circles, stars, triangles, etc. Let's now add lines and you'll see it works the same way as the shapes. All we have to do is go to the line icon. Once we've added our lines, we can move the frame around and get the same result. They all maintain their relative position to each other. Now let's add text going to this icon. Finally, we can add post-it notes. All of these components are now part of the frame. They're connected by Miro spatially. But if you've noticed, what we've created here is an idea tracker. So these objects are also connected conceptually. And that's an important aspect of frames. We want to make sure that whatever object is within the frame is connected conceptually to each other. Let's rename this frame to Idea Generation Tracker. Idea trackers are a key part of our viz boards at the School of Medicine. They offer us an area where we can place the new ideas we've generated, a place where we can prioritize them, track their implementation, and if necessary, move them into a section where we can create an escalation. What most teams do is match the weeks to the month. So week 1 labeled here would be the first week of the month. So if it's March, it would be the first week of March. The week 2 label would be the second week of the month, and so on and so forth. Teams take generated new ideas and place them in the weeks where they anticipate completing the idea. Not starting the idea, but completing the idea. So, for instance, if you're in the second week of the month, in your daily huddle, you would be addressing the week 2 ideas to see if they will be completed on time, and potentially the week 1 ideas that were not completed on time, which would be read and should be addressed until resolved. You don't have to take your time in your huddle reviewing week 3 or week 4 ideas if you're not there yet, and that should save you some time. All you'll be statusing is the current week and any ideas or artifacts that weren't completed in the prior weeks. In this particular case, we've also added swim lanes, so we know what idea belongs to whom. But we've also seen teams organize swim lanes based on goals, so it's very clear what ideas correspond to your yearly goals, whether it be a value goal, an operations goal, a people goal, or an environment goal. And that's very useful in making sure that the ideas that you're generating are really anchored to an expectation for performance and improvement on a goal. Now, there's no reason you'd have to use this format for an idea tracker. There are many different versions and methods. This is just an example. Right? Let's move on to the next tutorial.